Thank you so much for joining us. President Muhammadu Buhari has presented the 2020 budget to the National about 11 trillion naira approval, reducing inflation in 2019. He noted that government will continue strictly with the implementation of the Treasury single account. Given a breakdown of the budget, he said it is a fiscal consideration to strengthen microeconomy and enhance social investment program.
$6 per barrel. Daily oil production of 2.18 million barrels per day, and in exchange of 305 naira for American dollar in 2020. Accompanying the 2020 budget proposal is a finance bill for your kind consideration and passage into law. This finance bill has 5 strategic objectives in terms of achieving incremental but necessary changes to our fiscal laws. These objectives are: A, promoting fiscal equity by mitigating instances of regressive taxation; B, reforming domestic tax laws to align with global best practices; C, introducing tax incentives for investments in infrastructure and capital markets; D, supporting micro, small, and medium-sized businesses in line with our ease of doing business reforms; and E, raising revenues for government. The draft finance bill proposes an increase of the VAT rate from 5 to 7.5%.
The National Assembly leadership assures President Muhammadu Buhari of quick processing and early passage of the budget for assent. Still on the 2020 budget, the 9th National Assembly has restated its resolve to partner with the executive to take Nigeria to the next level of development through the swift consideration and passage of the 2020 appropriation bill, which President Muhammadu Buhari laid before a joint session Tuesday. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports that both the President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, and the Speaker of the House of Representatives assured commitment of the Parliament to fast-track the process without compromising legislative mandate as provided in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
I lay before this distinguished session of the National Assembly the 2020 budget proposals of the government of Nigeria.
The presentation of the 2020 appropriation bill by President Muhammadu Buhari before the joint session of the National Assembly in the second week of October is in line with the commitments of the executive and legislature of ensuring a return to the January to December budget cycle. President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, describing this effort of President Buhari of paying the budget in good time as desirable, says the National Assembly has earmarked the month of October for budget defense to enable subsequent legislative work to be carried out in November and passage in December.
The National Assembly has shown capacity, commitment, and willingness to treat legislative matters that will impact on the lives of our citizens with dispatch and every sense of urgency. This was clearly demonstrated last week when we received, processed, and passed the request of Mr. President on the 2020-2022 million term expenditure plan and fiscal strategy paper, FSP.
On budget implementation, the President of the Senate said the Public Procurement Act will be amended to ensure elimination of the encumbrances that lead to unnecessary delay, as this administration is set to achieve infrastructure developments and improved socio-economic services for well-being of citizens. Speaker, House of Representatives Femi Gbajabiamila said the document laid is a statement of intent and a reflection of values of integrity, accountability, and absolute commitment to the best interests of Nigerians.
What are our priorities? building an economy that provides sufficient opportunity for our people to achieve the dreams they hold dear, equipping our children with an education that prepares them for the challenges and opportunities of a rapidly changing world, protecting the rights of our citizens and securing them for internal and external aggression. This is our commitment, and we will ensure that this commitment is reflected in the 2020 Appropriation Act.
As guardians of the nation's purse, the legislature, he added, would work assiduously towards successful processing, passage and implementation of the nation's financial blueprints for 2020. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
Joining us now in the studio is Niyi Akinseju, an economist, to analyze the 2020 budget proposal. Mr. Niyi Akinseju, thank you so much for your time.
No.
All right, what would be the economic implication of early presentation of the 2020 appropriation bill? Mr. Niyi, please, what will be the economic implication of the early presentation of the 2020 appropriation bill?
Yeah, it simply talks to realigning the structure, the fiscal space as it were. The first is we will be reverting to the advocated defined fiscal circle for Nigeria's budget act, as it were, and of course all has its own benefit, inclusive of the idea that has not just been negotiated by the president during this particular appropriation bill presentation, talks to incentivizing private sector investment in infrastructure through tax credits. You can only align that properly when you have a January to December cycle, which is the cycle adopted by 80% more or less of corporate companies operating in Nigeria. And then secondly, this also comes with what you call predictability and measurement. Because of this cycle, it's easy to measure the momentum and the performance pace of the budget going forward. You'll also be able to create new activities around the startup time of the budget, which starts at in January. So more or less, we should appreciate this, and we should also congratulate Mr. President and the National Assembly in this new partnership, because a number of us had actually advocated this, and I know that the federal government under President Buhari had tried, to redress this over the last so many years.
All right,
but
Mr.
now
Niyi,
it's going to be realistic.
I'd like to quote you there. How would you assess the adjustment of oil benchmark from $55, considering the instability in the global oil markets?
The instability is obvious, but again, oil prices are actually contemplated through projections and analysis, especially technical analysis. There is a consensus that oil will still be a necessary need for the industry across the world, and that no matter the situation, no matter the vagaries of the international markets, it is expected that at the worst, going into the next 12-month cycle, oil price will stabilize at around $60 per barrel. And I think that is one reason the FEC, the Federal Executive Council, actually adopted the decision, or rather the suggestion, as it were, of the National Assembly, the two chambers of the National Assembly, that moved the benchmark from $55 per barrel to $57 per barrel. Don't forget that in the MTEF presented by the President to the National Assembly, the benchmark was stated at $55 per barrel.
Of course.
And of course, the two chambers agreed to move it to $57 per barrel. And the FEC also agreed and adopted that price range. I mean, the price range, as it were. And I think from readings, across other analysts, across other thoughts of analysts, it's likely that the benchmark will be within that range, as it were.
Okay, now, what impact will the budget proposal have on the economy, going by the sectoral allocation with premium on housing, works, power, and agriculture?
I see a lot of creativity here, and the most important thing is the insistence on the government to complete projects, that are in play already, and we have a number of legacy, what I call presidential projects, the Lagos-Ibadan Express Road, the Lagos-Ibadan Railway standard gauge, the Mambila, hopefully the Mambila 305 megawatt plant, hydro megawatt plant will also come to being. The second Niger bridge will also be given momentum. It may not be completed until 2021, but we will see obvious momentum in those capital projects. So generally, when you have all these kind of projects being funded, it also enables the economy. It strengthens liquidity in the economy, and of course also creates more economic activities, within the space, as it were.
All right, Mr. Niyi, Nigerians would like to know, how would the nation finance the budget?
The president had obviously explained this. One, expectation from crude oil sales, and he stated that a very conservative 2.4 trillion naira, and of course non-oil sector revenue at 1.81 trillion naira. I think that also shows the confidence of the president in the area of diversification of the economy. Because if you're talking up to 1.81 trillion from the non-oil sector, it translates to mean that there will be a lot of push in the non-oil sector of the economy. And yes, a number of other items will also generate this revenue, inclusive of what is called the restructuring of ownership of oil and gas assets. That one would mean that the federal government will be reducing its holding on oil assets. For instance, the joint ventures in the oil sector and all that. And of course, some nationally owned assets will also be sold off through privatization. Revenues from all that to also go into funding the budget. Of course, Mr. inclusive of loans, from both multilateral and commercial sectors, as it were.
All right, Mr. Niyi, this is the more I can take from you. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us on the news.
My pleasure. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. Moving on now, still on the 2020 budget, 83 billion naira has been allocated to agriculture in the 2020 budget against the 100.3 billion in 2019. In this report, Musa Babali takes a look at the implication of this to agriculture sector of the economy.
Key sectors that has been given attention in the national budget since 2016. This is based on the policy of the federal government aimed at diversifying the economy. Chika Ife of Feed Agriculture has been monitoring budgetary allocation to agriculture since 1999.
President Muhammad Buhari's administration from the onset in 2015 had made efforts. There has been an increase in 2016 budget from what we got in 2015 to about 73 billion, which was a far increment from what we've got about 50-something billion, which was the 2015 budget. And then, of course, in 2017 budget, you had that budget being increased far over 30% to about 100 billion. And then again in 2018 budget, we had about 118 billion, which was allocated to the budget.
The 2020 budget is, however, lower than that of 2019. Sectors such as water resources, environment, as well as social investment program are to support agriculture.
The rebuilding efforts in the northeast region, a provision of 37.83 billion naira has been made for the Northeast Development Commission.
The proposed VAT increase captured in the 2020 budget exempts agricultural commodities such as cereals, tubers, meat and fish. Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
You're still watching the news on NTA International. Time now to take a breather. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Hey, you! And are you how they talk to? I sabi you now. It's in day your mind, Abi. The person with them go help us. Baba Torosa, Shangalo, Ogalekuva, Mr. Sabi. And you know if we carry last for this one. We say picking go crawl before in waka. Sit down. No help anybody. No dolly, no. So go for it. Go for football. Go for Osirio on the Liga Marchings live. Go for GoTV Max.
Thanks for staying with us. To other economic matters now, the Nigerian government is lowering the bar to accommodate both local and foreign investors and create a much better environment for business to thrive. Already, Nigeria is rated among the top 20 developing economies in the United Nations Ease of Doing Business Environment ranking. State House correspondent Jide Onifade reports that Vice President Yemi Osinbajo at a plenary session at the 9th Nordic Africa Business Summit in Norway says the federal government is committed to stabilizing the nation's economy and viable for foreign investments.
The incredible opportunities today for business and trade, and especially with the coming into effect of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. Many of us, of course, are familiar with all of what it took to get us there. We all also recognize that Nigeria is the largest economy by GDP, but also in terms of the market. There is the huge market there, and the prospects for us and our Nordic friends, who of course over the years have proved to be some of our best partners, are clearly immense. So I think we must, begin the sorts of conversations that can, be beneficial to both sides.
Let's now talk technology. The increasing adoption of artificial intelligence, AI technologies, is sparking dramatic shifts in industries and tech ecosystems around the world. Correspondent Najatu Tijani at GITEX reports on these trends in AI and robotics. The new now.
Statistics show that 77% of devices already feature AI in some form or the other, and experts say its presence in our lives will keep increasing. Mobile phone users are already familiar with AI on their devices through various apps which respond to voice.
Can you rap?
However, current tech trends are leaning towards fusing artificial intelligence with robotics to provide easy access to a wide range of services, including health, education, and business. Meet Alexa, a virtual assistant developed by Amazon, but now fused with a robot for use in the health and hospitality sectors. You can ask Alexa to turn lights on and off, but today I decided to ask her the weather in Lagos.
Alexa, the weather in Nigeria.
Currently, in Lagos, Nigeria, it's 76 degrees Fahrenheit with thunderstorms and mostly cloudy skies. Today, you can expect some sun and thunderstorms, with a high of 76 degrees and a low of 66 degrees.
Alexa is just one of the hundreds of AI technologies at GITEX. Another area is robotics.
We make robotic low-cost prosthetic device for the people with amputation.
He's a pet robot, a very soft skin, a very warm body, just like pets. And he can do animal therapy in the hospital.
There is also Mitra from an Indian company which collects data from users to anticipate products and services which the user might require. Key players in the industry say Nigeria can compete favorably with these technologies.
With about 10 startups to this exhibition, 2 out of the 10 have participated in the semi-final pitching. So this shows that our startups, they have innovative ideas, and they have ideas that can impact life globally, not only within Nigeria.
This mindset tallies with the popular slogan here at GITEX, which says, "The future is now." Najatu Tijani, NTA News.
Thank you, Najatu. To other matters now, with Nigeria entering the second cycle membership of the Open Government Partnership, the Chief Executive Officer of the initiative, Sanjay Pradhan, says the country stands to benefit not only domestically, but equally internationally if the second National Action Plan is implemented credibly.
Government Partnership is a multilateral initiative that aims to secure commitments from national and sub-national governments to promote good governance through citizen participation. The initiative is made up of 14 commitments around 4 thematic areas such as fiscal transparency, anti-corruption, access to information, and citizen engagement. Nigeria joined the initiative in July 2016 when President Buhari attended the Anti-Corruption Summit in London, with Nigeria being the 70th country to join. The Open Government Partnership has 79 countries. This brings the global presentation of the initiative to more than 2 billion people. Having successfully completed the first National Action Plan in June 2019 with improvement in so many areas such as open budget, tax transparency, anti-corruption crusade, open contracting, and many more, Nigeria has submitted its second National Action Plan for technical review and feedback. This necessitated a visit by the delegates led by the Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Sanjay Pradhan, and Indian, to engage political leaders and stakeholders on the implementation process.
20 OGP countries are implementing beneficial ownership transparency. If Nigeria could be one of the first to credibly implement it and pass the bill, which almost got there but didn't get the signature, or in open contracting, where you have Nocopo, which is the platform that has been built but is not really being used as much. If you could really populate it and everyone would use it, you would actually feel, citizens would feel, look, all contracts are really open, right? So, and then you would have a global leadership position. You could run for the chair of the Open Government Partnership.
Still under the anti-corruption commitment, the federal government has approved the harmonized national anti-corruption strategy.
With 13 states in Nigeria signing on to the Open Government Partnership, the delegation is visiting Kaduna State as a member of the initiative local program.
Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed has restated the federal government's determination to provide the necessary incentives that will make the creative industry a key player in development. The minister stated this on the sidelines of the ongoing on the sidelines of the Nigerian Economic Summit 2019 in Abuja. Anthony Forson reports.
It was a collection of familiar faces in the industry, tagged Creative Industry Breakfast Meeting. It is designed to discuss a wide range of issues that borders on opportunities and constraints in the music, film, and fashion industry. Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed, who chaired the session, is of the opinion that practitioners must make demands and ask for an enabling environment to excel, given their enormous potentials to contribute to national growth and development.
Government wants something organic. They want to be part of resolving the problems, and therefore there is a need for this private-public dialogue. This will lead to policy formulation. From there it will lead to legislation, and then all the parties will be quite clear. I think we are going to work with the NASG and all the other stakeholders, because the thing about creative industry is that there are too many people involved. We talked about digital platform today, that's Ministry of Communication. We talked about intellectual property, that's Ministry of Justice. We spoke today about financing, that would include CBN and the Bankers Committee. We talked about culture, that would be Ministry of Information and Culture. There will be so many different sectors, but we all need to work together to move that industry forward.
With Nigeria's economic prosperity, the depending on strategically identified sectors with competitive advantage, a solid foundation for its growth lies within the policy framework put in place. In Abuja, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
And now to sports. Reactions continue to trail Super Falcons' non-qualification for Tokyo 2020 Olympics. Details with Kene Imagwike on Sports Updates.
Further reactions trail the inability of Nigeria's Super Falcons to progress in CAF qualification series for Tokyo 2020 Olympics women's football event after a 1-1 aggregate draw with Cote d'Ivoire in the second leg third round decided at the Agege Township Stadium in Lagos Monday.
They should be able to go down and sit and think and ask themselves why this thing is happening like this, because this is not the first time. They are the giants of Africa in female football. In fact, it's disappointing to see a country like Ivory Coast will now stop us from going to Tokyo 2020 Olympics. It's unheard of.
Meanwhile, Youth and Sports Development Minister Sanda Dare says there will be an investigation to unravel the root cause of Super Falcons' non-qualification for the Olympics after their last appearance in Beijing 2008.
We're going to ask the very difficult questions, not just from the anglers, but also from the Federation. Also from the players. We must get a feedback so that we can start rebuilding not just the team alone, but also the coaching crew.
After a below-par performance at the 2019 IAAF World Championships in Doha, where long jumper Esa Brume won Nigeria's solitary bronze medal, the Nigeria Olympic Committee at a meeting on Tuesday in Abuja rose with a resolution to tackle indiscipline among athletes.
This issue of indiscipline, this issue of performance, we are going to look at it critically, and we're going to come out with a resolution which will be announced to the whole public.
Team Nigeria placed 31st on the medal table among the 214 nations which participated in the biennial championships. With Sports Update, Kenen Ima Aburike, NTA News.
And Sports Update ends the news at this hour on NTA International. Thank you so much for being a part of it. Don't forget to join us at 9 p.m. for the network news. Good evening.
Welcome to Nigeria, a fascinating country. Take a trip through one of the most beautiful places on earth. A journey of discovery. A unique opportunity to get in touch with unspoiled nature. Enjoy your time in a place that offers something for everyone. A land of beautiful contrasts. An experience you won't forget.
Everywhere around the world, agricultural production is central to the overall well-being of the populace. This is why different countries play a high premium on agriculture, strive to develop and protect the sector, thereby guaranteeing sustainable food security, employment opportunity, among others. In Nigeria, agriculture is a branch of the economy, providing employment for about 30% of the populace. As at 2001, agriculture is set to contribute 32% to the gross domestic product (GDP). Research also shows that over 75% of rural dwellers are involved in agricultural activities, yet accounting for less than 5% of the foreign exchange earnings. No doubt, this sector remains largely subsistent, primitive, and underdeveloped.
We still don't have that improvement in the rural areas. There's been a little change, but the change has not come to a point that can make a significant difference in the livelihood patterns of the country. So this is still why in our rural areas, we see about 75% of them engaging in agriculture. If you then look at agriculture in these rural areas, the question will be, for who? Is it agriculture that is for self-sustenance, or agriculture that is geared towards income generation? Unless our agriculture in this country is designed right to ensure that the best bed production areas are encouraged to invest in agriculture, and now I'm referring to the rural areas, then what you have is agriculture that is designed on paper but never implemented.
The gospel of economic salvation cannot be preached without due regards to agricultural development. It is the major and most certain path to economic growth and sustainability.
In the past, immediately after the independence, years after independence, up till 79, 80, around late 79, you discover that agriculture was the mainstay of the economy. It played a lot of role in the 50s, in the 60s. We have groundnut, cotton in abundance in the north. In the south here, we have cocoa, all around every part of the nation. So you also come to the realization of the fact that it was proceeds from agriculture that the previous government used to put in place most of the structures we are having on ground today. So it has played a lot of role, very serious and great role in the economy of this nation before the coming of oil.
A very close look at agriculture in Nigeria in the 50s and 60s. I think we still have relics of that era. That's when we talked about groundnut pyramid in northern Nigeria. We talked about cocoa in the southwest. We talked about oil palm in the southeast. You can see how that era was structured, right? And if you remember very clearly that Obafemi Awolowo University today was built using money from the cocoa sector. The highly rated cocoa house here in Ibadan was built using money from the cocoa sector. University of Nigeria Nsukka was not built with the oil money. And so remain most of the key investments that Nigeria went into in the 60s. How did we get the money? Agriculture.
With an expanse land mass, an estimated arable lands of about 68 million hectares, abundance of natural forests and rangeland covering 37 million hectares, Nigeria is blessed with a wide range of agricultural potentials, ranging from varieties of crops, plants, and animals, with agricultural supportive. The country has never at any given time lacked the desired soil or favorable weather condition needed for successful agricultural production.
In some parts of Nigeria, we have rainfall 8 months of the year. We can do year-round farming in Nigeria by just supplementary irrigation. So we have all the opportunity, we have all the land, we have the people, we have farmers, we have a lot of young people who want to go into farming, but you have to make it attractive. You have to make it like a business. You have to facilitate them. You have to give them credit. You have to give them machines. They have to have access to formation of cooperatives, and you have to give them good seeds to get good yield from their farms. All of this we have to do. Every part of the world, agriculture is subsidized, one way or the other. Either by providing input to farmers at subsidized rate, or by guaranteeing market for their produce after harvest, a guaranteed market.
However, the decline in agricultural production in Nigeria began with the advent of petroleum boom in the early 1970s. The boom brought about distortion of the labor market, which in turn produced adverse effect on the production level of both food and cash crops. As food production could not keep pace with the increasing population, Nigeria began to import food, thereby losing the status of a net exporter of such cash crops as cocoa, palm oil, and groundnut. According to the United States Department of State Country Commercial Guides, Nigeria's total food and agricultural imports are valued at approximately $1.6 billion per year.
Unless a country guarantees its food security first, you will never grow industrially. Today, our food import budget has hit 1.5 trillion naira in this country today. What's our national budget? Put together. So our food import budget accounts for more than 25% of our national budget. We can't grow. So now we're beginning to see changes, with the new government and with the increased attention. And I think it is because the oil sector is no longer contributing what it used to contribute. So we're becoming sensible today. We depend too much on oil that will kill our own initiatives. But now we know that a sector like oil can die. The oil wells can become empty in the future. So unless we begin to develop our alternatives, then we will not be building a Nigeria for the younger generation to come.
Virtually all food items imported to the country have their traditional abode in the states across Nigeria, where soil and weather conditions are particularly favorable for the cultivation of such crops. Nigeria is presently regarded as the world-leading importer of certain products which could be cultivated locally.
We have not structured our agriculture. Nigeria can feed the whole of Africa. We have the weather, we have the climate, we have the land, we have the people, we have the labor, but we have not been able to organize our farming system to be able to respond to high-level production. High-level production means high-yielding seeds, available credit to farmers at low interest rate, available machinery for farm work, and opportunity and available equipment for processing and value addition.
However, there is a new twist to the whole problem, as major stores and supermarkets across the country now sell food items readily and easily found in the marketplaces on their shelves. Items like rice, beans, plantain, tomatoes, frozen foods, and groceries, amongst others, can easily be picked on the shelf, well packaged. What dangers does this portend?
We need to be happy with this development. The big stores in Nigeria, hitherto, had depended on imported food products into this country. And so with policies and regulations that encourage them, right, to increase their local content on the shelf, I think it's going to add value and it's going to create a big market for local food production in Nigeria. I strongly we want to encourage this further.
If you want fresh apple, do you have it in the country? There are some of the fruit that are not indigenous to Nigeria. So some of those ones, the government could allow them. But those ones that we know, like oranges, like garbage and so on, those ones we can produce, the government should stop them because it presents a lot of dangers. And apart from that, there are issues of organic, non-organic, GMO and non-GMO. We have to be very careful, even though most of these items will have been tested before they are allowed into the country, but is not contributing positively to the economy. Rather, it's denying our own populace of job and then also other income. Apart from our, foreign currency, foreign exchange issue that that is we are still going to be spending.
Successive administration in Nigeria have always made agriculture their key policy program, budgeting billions of naira to the sector without concrete result. In 2011, the administration of President Goodluck Jonathan launched an agricultural transformation agenda, which was managed by the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development. The intended outcome of the agenda is to promote agriculture as a business, integrate the agricultural value chain, and make agriculture a key driver of Nigeria's economic growth. However, little or nothing was achieved, thereby prompting the present administration to evolve and implement policies that will help Nigeria become self-sufficient in food production. Continued importation of food could expose the country to more external shocks.
Nigeria makes policies, and then you don't follow up on your policies. The fact that we make policies, and the policies are there, yet there's no adherence, means we just respond without really understanding, right, what development we are planning for. If Nigeria had had it in mind that this policy will drive our development to X level in the next 5 years, and we are eager to get there, we shall not have the type of policy somersault we're having today. Most of the policies we've had have somersaulted.
Why should you eat something that we cannot produce? Why should rice that we cannot produce be our staple food? Let's begin to eat what we have until we get there. Let the ban on importation continues, and let's encourage our local farmers. We have youth in their thousands who are not engaged. Let government put in place attractive condition for our youth to go into agriculture. Let there be organized market for their product. So that when they produce, it's not the matter of just producing. They will also have the opportunity to sell this thing and get money from it. Let our youth go back to the farm.
What can be done to discourage importation and encourage exportation in Nigeria?
The first step to discourage importation is to make sure that we have enough. And invariably also, when you have enough and you have excess, you'll be able to export. So is to have enough in every of the commodities that are, related to food and agriculture. Technology-wise, we are not yet there, but I want to say that Nigeria have a very big comparative advantage in the area of agriculture, and that is why Mr. President has been singing it to the ear of the general public that we need to go back to the land.
Many farm settlements are springing up almost every day, but little or nothing can be said about their contribution towards ensuring food security in Nigeria.
We want the government to keep elaborating on we going back to farm, because we discover that we go to all our villages where we have our farm, hardly will you see anybody between age 10 and 25 or 35. They are all in the city, maybe riding Okada or doing other menial job. But if government can continue with this value chain program, it's not compulsory that you should be a cassava farmer. You can be processing cassava, then you earn your money. If government can give us new orientation and give us a sort of assurance that at the end of all these things, the farmer will have market to dispose their product. So that will help us, and the food security in the country will be improved.
Certain factors have been identified militating against food production in Nigeria. These include lack of proper research, synergy between the end users of research, that is the farmers, and the various organs and ministries of government saddled with the responsibility of implementing results of research. The result of the research done over the years not getting to the grassroots, and complete breakdown of communication between farmers and agencies of government.
The synergy we have, for example, the National Center for Genetic Resources, this is the office where varieties that are going to be released to farmers are being registered. Any crop like cowpea, maize that will be commercialized and sent to the farmers is being registered here. So the synergy among the breeder is that we have to look at what is a researcher is developing. If you're developing hybrids, developing a new variety, we have a committee that is called National Varietal Release Committee, and these are eminent scientists and policymakers. They will have to look at those varieties, and in that committee, any material that is not going to be favorable to farmers is rejected. The one that we know that farmer will accept, and how do we know farmer will accept them? These material that are newly developed will be sent to farmers across Nigeria, in the east, in the north, and they will be planted on the farmer's field. And the farmer themselves, they are going to decide with the scientists there that, okay, this maize, this cowpea is good for me. There is something wrong with what the researchers has developed. Right there, it will be rejected. Once farmers say they don't want it, that will be the end. But once they appreciate it, then the scientists will now bring it up in that committee, and the maize, cowpea or groundnut will now be registered and then sent back to the farmers. So we have that synergy in order to make sure that our agricultural system is developed.
However, it is observed that most of the various research institutes across the country, though staffed with seasoned and world-acclaimed researchers, remain largely unproductive due to underfunding and attendant dearth of facilities. Barely can they sustain, let alone carry out research work.
What I believe is that the research institute should be able to sustain itself regardless of whatever crop is handling. All over you should be able to sustain yourself, but at provision of some infrastructures. Government pays salary. If government pays salary, so which means that that's government intervention already. So the other facilities, if you provide that facilities, then can then say, hey, now we are giving you this. You must be able to produce this. If you cannot produce this, consider yourself as being out of research institutes in Nigeria.
Research and development in Nigeria has been very, very low. All over the world, you cannot reap where you did not sow. Our research work has not been appropriately funded. And where they are funded, the right type of research has not been, because the research that will contribute to agricultural development will be the one that is well funded, and not only that, it will be demand driven. That is, not just doing research for promotion or doing research for academic exercise. Most of our researches in the past have been maybe for the scientists to get promotion, for somebody to become a professor. But we have got to a point now that we have to look inward and see how our researches are being carried out.
What synergy is there between the institutes in achieving appropriate food production in Nigeria?
There are synergies anyway. We collaborate one with another. For example, let's take NAGRAP. No plant materials can enter into NIHOD without the approval of NAGRAP or plant quarantine. Now,
IITA, take plantain for example, no research can be conducted by IITA without consultation to NIHOD or with NIHOD. Now, let's see also, NIHOD wants to work on intercropping of some crops. That is not our mandate. Let's say cassava. Tuber Research Institute is there. So we have to collaborate. In fact, all the institutes are interconnected.
Tackling the challenges of food crisis in Nigeria, especially in the face of dwindling oil revenue, will require considerable political commitment and investment in research and technology development. Although Nigeria can boast of many agricultural research institutes and qualified research scientists, their effects are being hampered mainly by inadequate funding to procure modern research equipment. Equally challenging is the inability of individual, corporate organizations, and government agencies to utilize research outcome.
Thank God for the present administration. There is what we call now Council on Innovation, which is being headed by the president himself. At that council, they have to determine what type of research should be done. Not just somebody will just wake up, okay, I want to research into maybe nutrition of tomato. Or at that council, the eminent scientists with the president as chair or his representative, they will now decide what type of research should be done. And once they decide, then they will now fund that particular research 100%. That means the scientist has no excuse for not delivering. That is how it's done all over the world. You have a target and then you put money down. Not that you put 50% of the money. The money may be with the CBN, the money may be with any commercial bank, but at least the scientist will assess that money and they must make sure that he delivers on that project. Not just that, when there is nothing like that in the past, scientists will just wake up and say, okay, I want to see how butterfly flies on the field. That's my research focus. And they will bring out papers. At the end of the day, how does that translate to the farmers? How does it get to put food on the table of an average Nigeria?
What should be the role of various agricultural associations in actualizing the dream of sufficient food?
You find out that our youths are leaving the farm for Okada and they are breaking people's leg, breaking people's head through this Okada because of their reckless and vile acts. But if we train them on farm, they just see green things every morning. It cools down their hearts. When we train them on seed yam production, every farmer now has seed to produce. And at the end, we have food. That is why you see us advocating YISWA, Yam Improvement and Income for Food Security in West Africa. This is one way we want to bring our own contribution into food production and secure it in Africa.
Removing Nigeria agriculture from the current primitive level to meet modern day needs will require injection of more funds, especially in critical areas such as value addition and processing, creating enabling environment for foreign investors to invest in food production. Adequate measures must be put in place to protect harvested crops. How then can these harvested foods be preserved and stored?
Processed foods. Today you have processed mango, you've got processed peach, either in form of juice or dried fruits. Processing. That will drive agriculture in this country if we are to reduce the rate at which farmers lose their products. So storage, yes, but in which form? In the fresh form or in the processed form? In the fresh form for some vegetables, yes, and the packages are there, but those ones will never achieve long-term storage for you. But if we develop products that will use this perishable product, raw materials, right, to produce what we need, I think to a large extent will have added value to agriculture.
It is clear from the foregoing analysis that if the agricultural sector must be productive and sustainable, government at all levels must be prepared to take the lead and play central roles by investing massively in the development of the industry.